Grand Theft Auto Liberty City Stories is another Grand Theft Auto game. I played this for the first time and I have so little to say about it that you shouldn't even watch this video. Please subscribe on your way out. In the game, you play as a guy who does crimes for financial and personal gains. You do a series of missions that involve driving cars, stealing cars, driving boats, shooting people, punching people, shooting cars, driving boats, shooting boats, punching boats, shooting cars, kicking people, and other Grand Theft Auto things. But this time there's motorcycles. This game is so okay that I feel like I didn't even play it. It doesn't really do anything poorly or fumble the bag at all, but there's also nothing remarkable about it. So my devoted fans might be wondering why I'm playing this on PS2 instead of PSP, since I made such a song and dance about playing the main trilogy on its original hardware. Yeah, it was kind of a special case since those games were so important and the hardcore fans think that most of the subsequent releases are lacking in some way or another, but Liberty City Stories is simply not as important or beloved as the other three, and a lot of my comments have been saying that the PS2 version is pretty decent and actually better in some ways, so let's talk about the game now. At some point in 2002, they made the PlayStation Portable, which was meant to be a portable PlayStation of sorts. And while the main squad over at Rockstar were putting together the next full-fledged GTA game for the brand new console generation of home consoles, they also thought of a nice way to put out some new content without too much development time, and help increase the legitimacy of the PSP, having a brand new Grand Theft Auto game launch on it. Additionally, it would help satiate the hungry fans in between the then unprecedented 4-year gap between mainline entries. Imagine having to wait 4 entire years between GTA games. The first of the 2 PSP games was Liberty City Stories, and like a lot of PSP titles at the time, a few months after release, they just said, let's just chuck it on the PS2, make a little more cash, why not? Money, cash money, baby. And yeah, this is a pretty low-effort port. The only meaningful addition they really made is the ability to look around with the right stick, which is nice, but I made it through 3 in Vice City without it, so I think I could have tolerated that on the PSP with its limited controls, but it's nice. Otherwise, though, this is extremely unimpressive on a technical level. When compared directly to GTA 3, it just looks worse. I think the draw distance is lower. Also, the loading screens between islands are back, even though in San Andreas they figured that out, and the map in that game is like 3 times bigger. I guess we've regressed. And the music cuts out during the loading screens, which never used to be the case. It also runs just as poorly as San Andreas, but San Andreas had an excuse since it was so massive and complex and was really pushing the hardware at the time. Kind of a shame they couldn't smooth any of this out on the PS2, since this was originally built to run on a handheld. Also, it was insanely dark most of the time. Maybe that's my fault, but damn, I couldn't see. If you're wondering why I'm not playing this on a PC, it's because I don't have a PC. I edit these videos on an aging MacBook, and it really can't handle that much gaming. But more importantly, I usually just prefer gaming on a console. I like having fun, and video game controller is for fun. Mouse and keyboard is for work. Also, I always prefer physical media, which is not nearly as available on PC. And also, I hate the idea of having to make sure my game is working and my shit is updated and the right crap is installed and I haven't misplaced a folder or whatever the hell, then a game doesn't work and I only have myself to blame. That's what I consider the PC gaming experience to be. When a game doesn't work right on a console, I can just blame corporate greed rather than my own ineptitude. Wow, I guess I should talk about the actual game. Set in Liberty City in 1998, 3 years before the events of GTA 3, you play as Tony Cipriani. This is a story about him and the Mafia, and Tony is doing jobs for the Mafia, and he gets made during the story. There's various stuff about Mafia power struggles and such, and there's this woman. Yeah, the story really didn't grab me in this one. I kind of liked how it was a full-on Mafia thing, but it's just another one where a guy walks into a bunch of rooms and does a bunch of favors for a bunch of people so they'll help him achieve his ultimate goal, which is I don't even know what it is in this game. Pretty sure all Tony is after is just like being in the Mafia more, like rising through the ranks and stuff and making money in the Mafia. It wasn't until this scene where you go talk to your mom that I realized, oh, this is the guy with the mom from GTA 3. He was voiced by Michael Madsen in that game, but he's recast, and now he's played by somebody. Tony's a really unremarkable character. He's just some asshole, middle-aged, unshaven, meathead wise guy. He has very little charm, or charisma, or intelligence, or relatability. I don't know, I didn't hate him, but let's move on. They brought Donald Love back, also recast. I was looking forward to seeing more of this character since his exit from GTA GTA 3 was pretty abrupt and confusing and unsatisfying, and he appeared in Vice City briefly but had no lines. This time he's running for mayor of New York, and honestly he seems like a completely different person than he is just 3 years later. I mean, his goals and methods are pretty similar, but his personality has changed drastically. Before, he felt like a cold, calculating, evil genius. He was the only one that felt as emotionless as Claude in that game. In this one, he's like manic and tweaky, and he kind of reminds me of one of those billionaires who thinks he's the funnest guy around even though everyone hates him. A far cry from the cold, imposing sociopath I knew him as.
In these days of moral hypocrisy, certain valuable commodities can be hard to import.
We're having a party, dear boy, a party. The first of the season!
I've noticed the Yakuza and the Colombians are far from friends. Let's capitalize on this business opportunity.
I'm back! Back from the dead, Tony, risen in you like a...
Seems like a big change to occur in just 3 years. I guess he did go through a lot in this game, so what do I know? Frankie Vincent returns as Salvatore, Maria comes back, Avery Carrington returns in a voiceless and spiteful cameo, but the character I was most excited to see more of was definitely Asuka. She also had a lot of potential and an abrupt ending in GTA 3, so there's a lot of room to expand her character too. She's not in the game. Why the hell not? You do a few jobs for like her sister-in-law or something. I thought this little storyline was kind of fun, but why doesn't Asuka appear? A lot of missed opportunities in this story here, and frankly, I don't have much more to say on the matter. The map is the same map from GTA 3 with a few alterations. The biggest one is the whole Fort Staunton area. In GTA 3, it was basically a giant construction zone, but here there's a whole district with buildings on that spot, and you eventually blow them up for Donald Love, clearing the way for said major construction development in GTA 3. Kinda neat. Shoreside Vale continues to be the bane of my existence, but there is thankfully an in-game map this time and a handful of other improvements that have been added since 3, but also a ton of the improvements from the last games are actually stripped away. You can no longer use analog aim, which is kind of the main thing that made the shooting somewhat enjoyable in San Andreas. I know the PSP only has one analog stick, and I guess they didn't want to make that original version feel too inferior to the PS2 version, but it really sucks. Hey, so I'm editing now, and I did just realize that you actually can use analog aim in this game, but I still think it's pretty clunky. Why didn't they just make it exactly how it was in San Andreas? That's what I'm asking them when I ask them this question. Anyways, back to the video. Pretty much none of the other mechanical improvements made their way into this game. You can't swim, you can't climb walls, you can't crouch, you can't keep your weapons after you die no matter what. This is clearly not trying to be the follow-up to San Andreas, and I'm sure this would have been really neat playing it on a handheld console back then, but coming after San Andreas, it's very underwhelming. Also, they cut some other corners, like only showing the back of the heads of the person talking so they don't have to animate their mouth.
Oh, it's you.
Yeah, how about that? It's me. What do you know?
What next?
I'll tell you what I know, tough guy.
Pretty awkward stuff. The missions are mostly fine, but again, very standard. It's honestly hard for me to name too many that stood out. I like the one where you have to drive through the tunnels under the city and plant the bombs to blow up the aforementioned Fort Staunton. I liked the chainsaw one. That one felt very PSP-style gameplay to me, which was very cute. The final mission was fun and cinematic and atmospheric, and it has a checkpoint in the middle? What? Just makes me more mad that there aren't more checkpoints throughout these games overall. Otherwise, the missions are fine. I had a lot of fun with most of them. The only one that really pissed me off was Search and Rescue, where you have to find Salvatore, who's pinned down, and save him. But the thing is, you of course don't have analog aim, only auto aim, so you have to be within a certain distance of a target in order to start shooting at them. But it doesn't seem like the same restrictions apply to you. They can just shoot you from any distance, so you have to get decently close to them in this corridor with no walls to hide behind, and there are just so many of them with pretty decent guns, and I thought I could hang back and use a sniper rifle, which kinda helped, but I would also get a wanted level right away, so I could only take out a few of them before the cops were all over me, which didn't help the difficulty, and I don't know, I kind of like the one where you protect Salvatore. It was just fun because it's like a reverse, it's like an inverse of Sayonara Salvatore, you know, where you go up to the same roof with a gun, but instead of shooting him with the gun, you protect him with the gun. But really, I didn't love or hate any of these missions. It feels like at this point their mission design is a lot more refined than it once was, but none of them are particularly inspired. The side missions were all very standard fare, with the slight exception of the bike salesman and car salesman missions, where you have a bunch of people standing outside a car dealership next to cars, and you have to figure out what they want out of their car, then take them for a test drive and show them that the car is good at that thing. It's not as dynamic as it sounds, and I didn't play too much of it, but it was a unique idea. The soundtrack honestly kind of slaps. Kind of goes hard. But there were so many radio commercials in this game that when you get into a vehicle, it's much more likely to be playing a commercial than a song, so you don't get to hear the music nearly as much as you should. And the commercials, they don't have that much variety, so you're just going to be hearing the same ones over and over. Good music, way too many commercials. Speaking of music, though, damn, this game's theme song is dope. was always so weird to me how mellow GTA 3's theme song was. Makes me feel like I'm sitting down in a coffee shop about to listen to some slam poetry. Now this game's song gets you pumped for some crimes. Italian crimes. There are more fun outfits in the game. Personally, I didn't like any of them more than the Leone suit that you get from the very beginning, but a lot of them are great. Your safe houses are nice, you know, nice interiors. This kitchen's pretty nice. This house has got a lot of rooms. There are a few cool cars. I like that the HUD is no longer stretched when you're in widescreen mode because this game was developed for a 16:9 screen. There are motorcycles, which we didn't have in GTA 3. This game does have kind of an autumn atmosphere, which is fun. I'm really running out of things to say. In my other GTA videos, I did a part at the end where I shit on the definitive editions. This game doesn't have one of those, but it does have an iPhone version for some reason. This is the only official version of this game that was ever made available in HD, and the iPhone let me play it for free for 30 minutes, so I thought I'd check it out. And wouldn't you know, it's fine. Touchscreen controls always suck, but they did include analog shooting, which is neat, and the game also looks kinda nice. And unlike the definitive editions of the other games, Liberty City Stories runs perfectly fine on my phone, so this version is, fine, I guess. It's a fine version of a fine game. Sorry I didn't have more to say about the game, but there's really very little to it. The story's fine, the mission design is fine, the map is reused, the mechanics are stripped back, the theme song is good, the radio's a slight fumble. This really is the blandest GTA I've ever played. It does almost zero to innovate on what came before and gives you almost nothing you can't get somewhere else in the franchise, but I still thought it was a fun little game and a decent stop along my journey through GTA's 3D universe, but the formula is really starting to wear thin and feel a little stale, especially when there isn't an interesting story or anything new offered by the gameplay or map or visuals or really anything. All that being said, I'm still extremely excited to play Vice City Stories and get back into that corner of this world. Subscribe to my channel if you want to see that, and if this is your first time here, check out my other GTA videos. They're way better than this one.